Hello everybody. Today I'd like to tell you a story about a pixie and a pudding. Out in the countryside is a farm. It's a beautiful farm. And on the farm there's a pig whose name is Bella, a cow whose name is Dolly, a dog, a beautiful old sheepdog whose name is Molly, and there's a farmer. And it's a lovely countryside. Every Christmas, the farmer makes a pudding. Beautiful big pudding. It's his great-grandmother's recipe. And he puts a little bit of holly on the top of it, and he puts it on the window ledge, and he goes to bed, and he says, "Enjoy that, little pixie." And out from behind a tree, jumping onto the window ledge, is a pixie with a spoon. And the pixie is so fabulous. She's got purple and bells and hair in big spikes, and she dances and sings when she sees the pudding, and she eats a little bit and she takes it and she jumps and flies and shares it with all of her family and friends. And they go to all the animals and plants in the area, and they tell them jokes and they cheer them up, and the whole of that farm and all the farms around are happy. The farmer goes through the year, spring comes, the pixie leaves some daffodils for the farmer. Poppet, their hen, lays some eggs. Oh, the strawberries come. The farmer in the summer gathers up all the vegetables and the milk from Dolly the cow and makes some cheese and takes it to the market and sells it. The autumn comes and the potatoes come, and even though the winds are blowing and the land is changing, everyone is happy. But one Christmas, the farmer went round the animals and he said, "I'm really sorry. There's going to be a change." And Molly the dog came, and the farmer said, "Molly, I got to talk to you. I can't stay here any longer. I'm too old now to do all these things. A young person is coming to the farm with their daughter, and they're going to take over, and I'm going to leave you here in charge. You're going to look after them." And Molly was very sad, but Molly understood. And the farmer said, "There's one thing I have to do." And he sat down and he wrote a note to the new owner. "Dear new owner, please, you must make a pudding every Christmas Eve and leave it on the windowsill for the pixie. The pixie will keep the farm happy and everything will be well." So the farmer wrote his note and he left it on the window ledge and packed his bag, kissed Molly goodbye, said goodbye to Bella the pig and Dolly the cow and Poppet and the hens. And off he went. The pixie jumped onto the window ledge and saw the note. She opened it up and she started to read it. Pudding. She was happy because she thought, it's going to be okay. And she left the note there, smoothed it out, and off she went. The next morning, the new owner arrived. Molly was so happy. Molly ran out to greet the new owner and the new owner's daughter, Charlie. Now, Charlie was a little girl, and she was not really very happy to come to the countryside where she didn't know anybody and go to a new school where she didn't know anybody. She wanted to be back with her friends, but her dad said, "Charlie, we got to have a new start. Feel how lovely this place is. Smell the air. Look at the beautiful view." Molly was so excited. But the new owner said, "Oh, no, you can't come into the house. Stay outside." Molly was a little bit sad. Charlie came in, went to put her things away, and Dad found the note from the old farmer. So he read it. He started to laugh. Charlie came in. Why are you laughing, Dad? Ah, he said. Really? He wants me to make a pudding for some pixies. Charlie said, oh, maybe we should do that because I remember that story from when I was little. Dad said, yes, when you were little. We're not doing that now. That doesn't even make any sense. A farm doesn't depend on a pixie. Charlie said, well, and an owl hooted. Hoo hoo. Dad went to bed. Charlie opened the window. Are you there, Pixie? And closed the window. It was Christmas Eve. Nobody had left a pudding. Pixie came. Pixie looked. Pixie opened the window. Pixie came in the house. Pixie banged her spoon quite angrily on everything. Where's my pudding? Where's my pudding? They haven't left us pudding. Pixie was quite cross. In fact, Pixie was very cross indeed.
There's no pudding. They haven't left us pudding. Where's our pudding? We're very, 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 very cross.
Well, the next morning, the cock didn't crow. Dad came running in. Why didn't you crow? He said to the cock. The cock just went. Dad came out. Bella was hoping for a tickle, but no way was Dad going to give Bella a tickle. Bella went. Dad went to get milk. But Pixie had already spoken to Dolly the cow. So Dolly went. The farm was not happy. Pixie told everyone, all the vegetables, all the flowers, all the fruit in the trees. Pixie told all the hens there were no eggs. The vegetables were all sad and wrinkled. Dad tried and tried and tried, but nope, nothing he did could make the farm happy. Pixie had not had her pudding and she was very, very cross.
There's no pudding. They haven't left us pudding. Where's our pudding? We're very, 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 very cross.
Summer came. Dad was beginning to feel a little bit fed up. Charlie was very fed up. And one morning she opened the window and a tiny little bird was singing. And Charlie saw the bird singing. And the bird came and landed on Charlie's hand. And Charlie heard the bird. Slowly, slowly, Charlie began to learn the animals' names. She came out, she learned how to tickle Bella's tummy, and Bella let her feed her. And Pixie watched, and Pixie became a bit happier. And then Charlie came and spoke to Poppet and learned Poppet's name. And Poppet laid an egg. Charlie was so excited, she ran and showed her Dad the egg. Dad said, well, it's a start, I suppose, but it's not going to help us. Charlie went and talked to Dolly the cow. Dolly, she said, you're so beautiful. Would you give me some milk? Pixie watched. And Dolly gave a little bit of milk to Charlie. The end of the year was coming, and Dad was looking at his accounts, and he said, you know, it was a good idea coming here, but it didn't work. We're going to have to go home. We're going to leave just after Christmas. I'm sorry, Charlie, it it hasn't done what I wanted it to do. Charlie said, but I don't want to leave. I don't want to leave. I've become friends with Molly the dog. And Molly looked outside and looked up into the window and barked and smiled at Charlie. Charlie said, I don't want to leave. I'm friends with Bella. And Bella grunted in her pen. She said, I don't want to leave. But Puppet and the hens, they love me. And they all clucked in the hen house. Charlie said, I don't want to leave. Dolly the cow is giving a little bit of milk to me. And Dolly the cow mooed from the fence. Dad said, it's not enough. Go to bed. I'm going to bed. It's not enough. So Charlie sat down and felt sad. And Molly came and sat with her. Even though she wasn't supposed to be in the house, Charlie let her in. And Pixie came in too. And Pixie had kept the note. And she threw the note at Charlie. Charlie opened the note that the old farmer had left. And she tried to see where the Pixie was, but every time she looked, the Pixie had moved. Until finally she said, what do you want, Pixie? What do you want? I know you're here. And the recipe book fell off the shelf, open at the words, Christmas pudding, grandmother's recipe. So Charlie started to make a pudding. She got out flour, she got out nuts and raisins and sugar, and there was just enough left, just enough. And then she said, oh, eggs, I haven't got any eggs. The window opened behind her. Pixie left a basket of eggs there. Charlie said, thank you, Pixie. Then she said, oh, milk, I need some milk. Pixie opened the window behind her and there was a pitcher of milk. Thank you, Pixie. Well, Charlie stirred and stirred and stirred until finally the mix was ready. She put it in the bowl. She put the bowl in the oven. She turned the oven on. She looked at the recipe, 3 hours. Oh, and she went and sat in the armchair and she put on the alarm. She fell asleep. The alarm rang. She went to the oven and there was the pudding. She very carefully took it out. Charlie had made the pudding all on her own. She went outside and from the holly bush she took a tiny sprig of holly, just as the old farmer used to do, and she put it on the top. And then she opened the window and she said, little Pixie, I've made you a pudding. And then off she went to bed. Well, she didn't sleep, because all night long she could hear the pixies dancing and singing in the garden. It was the most enormous racket, but she didn't peep.
We have pudding, and we jump for joy for what the year will bring.
The next morning, she came downstairs and her dad said, the cock crowed this morning, did you hear it? She said, oh my goodness, it worked. Dad said, what worked? She said, I made a pudding, Dad. I made a pudding and I put it outside. Dad said, still, and then there was a noise at the door and they opened the door and there on the doorstep was milk and eggs and vegetables. And Charlie said, see, Dad, see? And Dad said, yes, I do see. Charlie said, please, can we stay? Molly came inside and Dad said, come on in, Molly, come on in, you're okay, come on in. And he said, yes, Molly, Charlie, yes, we can stay. This is our home now, ours and the Pixies.
Clap your hands, tap your feet, shout it in hooray. Finger click, slap your thighs, shout it in hooray. We have pudding, every cow, pig and birds upon the wing. We have pudding, and we jump for joy for what the year will bring.
That's the story of the Pixie and the pudding. I hope you've enjoyed it and I hope we'll see you again. Bye-bye.